your experience inside and out, do you see the real world racism connection in jails in corporate America and society?
Well, it's not so much that prison is the most racist place in this life, but it's probably the second most segregated institution. See, everybody always say they've been to prison, but California only has so many prisons. Folsom is a prison. Soledad, I believe, is a prison. San Quentin is a prison. Pelican Bay is a prison. Everything else, if you look, is because oppressors and people that are in that level of law enforcement or corrections, they're quite literal in what they say. They're not like us. If I say to you, make it rain, you think we're gonna throw some dollars in the air and then some girls gonna, pick them up. But in their case, if you say make it rain, they're gonna say how, or it's not raining, because they're quite literal. So when you see a situation where a lot of brothers are coming out of uh, correctional institutions, that's a whole nother language. That means they're going back to what Bill and Hillary Clinton said about poor people and black people, that we're born genetically criminally insane, which is an absolute false statement. So when you have that type of rhetoric going on, you notice now they putting a lot of brothers on sensitive need yards that come out here and let these youngsters think that they was on the 4 yard where I was at, or the 5 yard in some instances because of the level of violence. But they're really coming out of institutions because they come out 51, 50, and then sometimes people are in institutions because of overcrowding in prisons, which we get that. But for the most part, you have to be able to differentiate between the word institution. This is a mental institution. This doesn't say mental prison. It says institution. So when you see San Quentin State Prison, that's for real convicts, for real prisoners, for real criminals that respect the code. See, real convicts don't play with the police. Real convicts don't tease the police because he got a job to do and so do I. When I was in that life, that's how we looked at it. When we was riding around with them things, it's like, yo, man, there go the police. What they got to do with us? He got a job to do and so do we do. But if you catch me, you got me. If I can run, because the catching come before the killing. So if you catch me, you got me. But all that disrespect and roughing me up and playing them games when I was growing up, we didn't play that. Because back then, them police, like how they got these people now, these are inmates coming out of institutions they dealing with. That's why they play with them. But when I was coming up, them same police would take them badges off and give you that squabble quick.
Hmm.
See, it's a big difference. Now they play with them, they taunting them. I don't need no contact with you. I can't take no interviews. I don't need no interviews. I don't commit crime. I pay taxes.
Police used to squabble with y'all back in the day, huh?
Yeah, they'll squabble up with you quick. But even if they didn't squabble up with you, they'll just beat you down. They got techniques, pressure points, and techniques that they would use. Wasn't no Black Lives Matter or Brown Lives Matter or none of your rights, man. Every time they caught one of y'all, it was time to get Thunderdome. Wasn't no playing with it. Like I told you, first time I ever seen a high speed chase that wasn't successful like it was with Rodney King. Period. That's what I seen. So I'm totally aware of what's going on in regards to the difference between then and now.
You was telling me something interesting. We had a conversation how um, the black gays would be on the front line during a riot, and they was some real soldiers, and you call them Sagunis.
I mean, you know, the trauma that people feel in their life and they go through, that's their personal business. And it's some unfortunate in some instances. But there was some Sagoonies, because we didn't call them gays and all that, because, those are fighting words. Back when I was growing up, the word gay meant happy. Then it was turned into something else. But for the most part, they had brothers in there that was considered Sagoonies, man, that would put hands on you. They had a couple that would, you coming in, you acting big and bad, and you young and you acting tough. Like Fleece Johnson say, when he seen them youngsters coming in with them saggy pants on, Fleece Johnson say, "Hey man, see that youngster over there? To him, that look gangster, sagging his pants. But to somebody like Fleece Johnson, that's sexy." So some of them youngsters coming in challenging them lifers that been in there 40, 50 years, 30 years, and they don't know they championship boxers. Because they used to have boxing contests. You go prison to prison. They had a couple in there that was about that life, on the other side as far as double spirited or sexually different. And they would put hands on you. I seen a couple of youngsters get knocked out and wake up with their pants down. Yeah. You didn't go in, and then when it was time to go to war, they was on the front line. On the front line. I don't know how it is now, but they, wasn't no plan. You black, you black. When it was go down, it was going down. They didn't stop to check your sexuality. They just know you was on the front line. And whether or not they was put on the front line or not strategically, I don't know. But I do know, no pun intended, but they wasn't no punks when it was trying to get out. They wasn't no punks, man. When it was trying to sling them knives, carry them knives, but they didn't disrespect you. That's the difference. They didn't push their lifestyle on you. They went in there taking young people's sexuality. That's all a myth, man. You got to want to participate. They got that going, but ain't no brothers running, man. They in there trying to get knowledge yourself. But now you gonna carry that knife in your ass, and ain't got nothing to do with you being no Saguni or gay. You gonna carry that knife for survival. And if you got to go to another prison, and you that type of person that's on that list or about that life, you might have it up in your rectum. They've had instances where I won't mention no names, but some LA gang members had allegedly smuggled a machine gun into the institution. One allegedly had the barrel in him, and the police told him to sit down, and he couldn't sit down. And I heard that they told him to give him the information if they get it out. And this is like true stories. This is just not in California. This happened in other prisons where inmates may or may not have had access to firearms or some sort of deadly weapon. I mean, you're incarcerated. Even on the plantation, they had machetes. Master didn't know. But the most dangerous thing that's in the prison that they know you got is your mind. That's the most dangerous weapon in there. You can take that to the bank.
Wow. Um, you said Mexicans started Uber?
That's not quite the order in which I said it to you, but I'll take it from what you've asked. When in the 80s and the 90s, they used to have a lot of phone booths in the community. And I'm quite sure some of y'all can attest to this. And the reason I say this is because sometimes we give credit to the wrong people without really doing our research or giving credence to those who put forth the effort to create ideas like that. But back in the day when I was uh, moving around, didn't have a car, the phone booth used to always have the little phone number stripped in there, like a little white strip on the side for a cab service. And then you would call it. I used to keep it in my wallet with a bus pass just in case I bust me a move somewhere or something. I got to jump out my car. I can always have a bus pass. See, these youngsters don't know that. They got an app now you can call an Uber. But back when we was growing up, if you get into a fight at the beach or you hit a lake and you got to dump the car, whatever the situation may be. And I'm just speaking from a criminal perspective based on the overall variety of situations that have taken place. You jump on the bus, that rough, tough, and dangerous with a bus pass. You slide right on, you show it and keep it moving. Police riding around the corner looking for you. But yeah, that's just how they go, man. Some of these youngsters, they got to figure out like before I make a decision to go to jail or get into something, because most of the kids that you see today getting in trouble, is through a lot of compulsion. It's
Mhm.
not that they want to participate. That's why it's important for us to get at the courts and let them know, no, wait, he's not a criminal. He's really a victim. There's some instances where you have a 1 in 1,032% chance of getting shot in some parts of the neighborhood. Statistically speaking, from Crenshaw and Florence to Florence and Hooper, the average income of the household may be less than 15,000, but nephew got 10,000 worth of beat and 20,000 worth of tires on this car.
Mhm.
So we got to understand that there's no parent in there, and then the average household, the income starting from, say, from Rosecrans and La Cienega to the South Bay started 100,000 or 80,000 or more. So the income from Slauson to Van Ness is totally different than the income from Rosecrans and La Cienega. Those are 100,000 because everything is divided into grids, and that's how they maintain their status on us.
Mhm.
That's how the crime rate is different. So then the gentrifiers will come in. They'll change the whole skeleton of the city council to people that represent them, and then they'll continue with their process of elimination with the originals.
What do you think is California's plan? Um, do you think they had good intentions, or do you think it's an ulterior motive of eliminating bail for a lot of crimes? Um, a lot of these crimes have been scaled down, and that's why you see the rise of snatch and grabs and a lot of stuff like that because there's really no punishment per se. Do you think this was to help our community to relieve a lot of people that were going through problems, or you think this is ulterior motive?
Well, it's always a motive behind that with a hidden hand. First of all, how did they get into the position where we have no high-rise buildings and no ghetto in America except for Harlem, or maybe a couple in Atlanta or Chicago that represent us? No mayor, no black mayor, governor, or anything of that sort has ever attempted to put a real legitimate downtown style Los Angeles in the heart of us. Beverly Hills has a commerce center. Torrance has one. So we don't have these jobs and all these opportunities available, not to mention that the curriculum that we taught our children under at Fremont or Bethune or Locke High School is different than the curriculum in Palisades or Calabasas where you may have went. It's totally different. So the outcome is totally different. So when you see that type of thing and you mix all that up together, it's like, who did that and why? Nothing beats a gun like a job. I've never seen a person get off work and then go do a drive-by. I've never seen that. So there's some sort of uh, mixture of poverty with confusion because it's really called cash, not confusion. But with us, it's no cash and all confusion. And then our inner cities are dark. They took the lights out and put these big bunk lights. Then you have to have at least 5 miles of recreational space just to grow to have a rite of passage living in any part of the world. They got Griffin Park for those, they got the beach for others. But where's that 5 mile radius where people can say, I can get away from a gang at in Los Angeles where a person can spread out in the ghetto? You don't have it.